Yes, hot topic for content creators. This is where I pitch a hot topic to you guys, and then you guys turn around and you create your own content on said topic. And if you tag me in that video, then I may feature your video during a future live stream. Or else, you're always welcome to drop your comments on this video or any of my previously pitched hot topic videos and weigh in on the conversation, and I will address your comments live on the air. That's right. And tonight we are revisiting an old topic for this channel, but very much a topic that is relevant to today and remains relevant and is becoming more relevant in our day-to-day. And that is the topic of art and artificial intelligence. Yes. We've already covered quite a bit as far as this goes. We've kind of touched upon all the surface. We've touched upon quite a few of the kind of surface level arguments and stuff like that as far as yay or nay. My original pitch was this, however. Is artificial intelligence even capable of creating art? Okay. I use very specific language here. Is artificial intelligence even capable of creating art? And also a secondary question that I launched this pitch was, what does it mean to separate the art from the artist? And can art become too far removed in this way? All right. So that's why I kind of like launched this topic, to kind of give you guys a little bit of stuff to kind of chew on for a while, think about, and just really, and come up with your own subjects, come up with your own subject matter on the topic. And you could come at this topic from all different types of angles. All right. And we've already covered quite a few angles. So this is not so much a series as much as we're just kind of embroidering the topic as various subjects kind of pop up. So you guys can come at this from all different angles. And if you go back and watch the playlist on this, you can watch these videos in any order. I just say part one is the pitch, and then anything after that, you never really know what you're going to get in the conversation. I get comments, I read articles, different things as they kind of rise, and we continue to embroider this topic. And this comes from Running to Write. Ben Pick from Running to Write weighs in on art and artificial intelligence, part 7. So Ben writes, aside from public open sourced projects, the AI is probably scraping Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow, just like every other developer in my industry. And then, quote, garbage in, garbage out. I used to be able to recognize the pages developers would copy from because of the mistakes which were present in so, unless you scroll down in the comments or understand what the function is doing. It's only a matter of time before industries use AI to generate code, and I am terrified for how much destruction that will cause. Yes, the creative destruction as far as that goes. But I do kind of have something to say on that, but let's continue with this comment. Side note, most businesses treat open source projects terribly as is. There are several popular security tools I've worked with which use open source projects as the primary engine without acknowledgement or compensation. Yeesh. I believe that was the one where I was going into detail on a copyright claim. There's a class action lawsuit right now on AI, generative AI. More specifically with the Chat GPT, and it has to do with generating code. More specifically, I believe it's a group of programmers that are behind the class action lawsuit. So just a little FYI as that develops, but it kind of like dovetails with what we were talking about before in the topic with dealing with accreditation. accreditation with this whole AI thing. I saw it coming from a mile away. If you go back, you see the videos. I kind of like thought of this before it came up. There was an article shortly after I had mentioned something about it seems like it's wishy-washy in a legal sense. There was shortly after that, I covered an article where artists were talking about their styles were being ripped off. It was an artist by the name of Rakowski, who has worked for big companies like Blizzard and whatnot. And there were examples in there where they stuck his name in the prompt. They said, like, generate an image of like dragons battling or something like that in the style of ... And then they put the artist's name. And then it's like, it's pretty clear if you do a side-by-side comparison, it's pretty clear where the AI generators are getting their material from. Now, if I want to go into this, first, let me readdress some of the surface level, not necessarily arguments, but just kind of like surface level subject matter on this topic real quick. As more and more people begin to kind of funnel into this conversation with the AI stuff, I just want to reiterate a few things that we've already covered on this topic and things that I myself have kind of come to an understanding on since I started covering this topic. And one of which is very, very early on, I had a YouTube comment. Somebody had stopped by and said, AI is simply a tool. And that's where they kind of left off. And that's, kind of the first, I think that's kind of like the first thing. I think that like that's kind of like the general consensus, like the first thing that pops up in people's minds when they're first getting involved in this conversation is it seems like it's just almost like a knee-jerk reaction for people to say, well, AI is just a tool, like a paintbrush is a tool. But it's really not, though. As you kind of get to understand the systems and like the process of it and like what's really going on behind the curtain, it's really not a tool. I've made the analogy that it's not so much a tool as it's more of a machine. So you say, like, we use tools to work on machines, okay? Or like a paintbrush, if you want to use the art analogy, yeah, a paintbrush is a tool. But if you're going to say AI is a tool, well, now what are you comparing it to? You're comparing it to a pen. So if you say you use fucking MS Paint, using a pen in MS Paint is not the same as using AI image generators. Two completely different things. It's not a tool in that sense. I've argue that it's more of a machine. Why is it more of a machine than it is a tool? Because it's processing material, like a machine would process material. So you have to have the material needs to come from somewhere. So like say in a plant, an assembly line, you have raw materials. So like you need like sheets of metal, okay? Like sheets of steel or something like that. And then you have like a machine that's going to press that metal and shape it into something else that's then going to be used at the tail end. That's how I would compare this whole generative AI thing. It needs raw material, the raw material being the prompt, okay, for at least for the text stuff. But then that prompt is really just a command telling it what you want it to make. And then in order for it to make that thing, it needs to actually have raw materials to pull from that it can then refine and turn into something else. Shape, mold, mix. You could say it's like cooking. So it needs ingredients in order for it to cook up something. That's what I mean. It's more of a machine than it is a tool. So we're dealing with a different beast as far as that goes. So now that I've addressed kind of the surface level thing, I want to kind of take this a step further and go a little bit deeper.